Welcome to Solo Business. I'm your host, Denecia Jones, and today we'll talk a little bit about the psychology of money. We'll be connecting with our guest, Ed Diaz of Kuno Advisors, and he'll tell us a little bit about his background. Hi, Ed.
Hi, Denecia. How are you? How's SoCal doing?
Oh, it's great. It's great. I miss Northern Cal. I'm up there often with clients, but I do miss it right now. I just love the people.
Well, NorCal also misses you, for the record.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm looking forward to this. I've been looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's been a while since we've done something like this. The Small Business Development Center, I believe, up there at the Northern Cal in San Francisco. So,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right. Good old San Francisco.
Yeah.
The
So
epicenter of a lot of business and a lot of great contacts and networking.
absolutely. Yeah. So you have to come down here and visit because I'm a few blocks away from the ocean in Redondo.
Done.
So tell us a little bit about your background
My background is I became a junior stockbroker and financial advisor right out of college. And the reason why I did that is because I literally saw a stockbroker do a presentation in a group that I was part of called Junior Achievement when I was in junior high. And I remember looking at this guy going, wow, I've never seen anybody like this guy. And I've never seen anybody dressed like him. And he could have been an alien from another planet, as far as I'm concerned. And he was talking about all these things like investing your money and accounts like IRAs and things. Look, in my family, it was pretty much if you had a checking account, you were good. There was not a lot left over after a checking account. And even sometimes that checking account didn't have a lot of money into it. And me, being the product of a single mother who raised me, I just saw that as my way out and my way of helping my mom, quite frankly. And so that's why I went into that. And then I went into financial planning because I thought that I could help more people as opposed to just the wealthy get richer just by buying, the stock of the day. And after that, I got recruited into the commercial banking arena, which is where I started my lending experience. And then I got recruited into the mortgage business to be able to help everyday people get a piece of the dream through real estate home ownership. And I got hooked and I got addicted to giving keys. And I found out that it was just the greatest way to come in as a stranger and to leave like family. It felt more personal. It felt more community. It felt like I was really building relationships as opposed to just selling stock or selling a product. And so that's the reason why I got into and how I got into the mortgage business. And, along the way, I realized, there's a psychology to this money thing and that our money messages as children plays a huge part because in my family, it wasn't that money was evil. We just didn't have any money. So it was always them against us, the people who have money, and then there's us. And that money to a certain degree can corrupt you. There was always these kind of negative connotations to money. And no wonder, right? I grew up with a somewhat of an allergy and fear of money because I didn't want it to convert me into something ugly monster. And I didn't want to become that person that didn't care about people because I had money. And so I had to rewire my brain and had to redo my money messages to start out with so that then I could have a healthy relationship with money. And a healthy relationship with money is one that that money is not an end all, but it's a tool that can be used for tremendous good in the world. But it can also be, as you know, just like anything, it could be a weapon that could hurt a lot of people as well. But I realized that I had control over that I can control how I view and utilize money. And that was my breakthrough, right? And then I started to read and really start developing a relationship with money through getting empowered through education. Because what I realized is that what I know, nobody can take away from me. What's between these two ears, otherwise known as brain trust, meant everything and made all the difference.
That's amazing. Yeah, that's so great. Yeah, I completely understand because my past is very similar to yours. I was born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, which is now called South LA.
Right.
They
Blanky
changed the
now
name.
even,
It's
huh?
so bad. So yeah, and my folks, they struggled, and there was a lot of negative feelings about life because all they saw was scarcity. And I grew up with that, and it took me some time to really get through that. And I think a lot of folks, they don't necessarily think about like how they feel about money. It definitely allows you to be more abundant or scarcity driven when you have it. So.
That's true. And what I've also noticed is that, everybody talks about the fear of failure, right? But here's the part that I had never heard about that I was experiencing, and I thought I was alone on this, is the fear of success. What if I become successful? Am I going to be one of them? And am I going to be this heartless person with a lot of money that doesn't care? I was definitely afraid of that. So guess what? I would put the brakes whenever I was starting to get very successful. I would pump the brakes. And I didn't
Sabotage.
even know that I was self-sabotaging
Yeah.
myself. How many people are suffering from that? Of course, there's a lot of people suffering from the fear of it and the fear of a lot of things. But how about the fear of the positivity side? So there's the fear of not having, which is, that's a duh, right? But how about the fear of having a lot? Whoa, I mean, think about it. It almost sounds counterintuitive, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's a
Absolutely.
part that I also help people with, because again, I come in as a stranger and I leave like family. Many times I become a de facto advisor to my clients, because even though I'm no longer a financial advisor or licensed, I still default to advice. I still default to education. They're two major, major pillars in my business.
Do you see people who say education or they lack the ability to have abundant lives kind of make those self-sabotaging decisions?
Yeah, because I think it's kind of innate and built into us, the not feeling worthy and not feeling enough. And in a time where social media is so real and it's about posting happy, I think it's gotten worse, quite frankly, that if you're not perfect, then you're not good enough, right? So we're seeing that show up and manifest itself in a lot of different ways, but definitely money. How many people are posting next to a Lambo when, let's be honest, either it's about to get repoed, or it's not yours, it's somebody else's, or you rented it over the weekend. But look, your real friends don't care.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a Lambo to earn their respect and love. And if you do, I have news for you. You're hanging out with the wrong crowd. Make sense?
Absolutely.
That's part of, growing into your own skin. It's learning to love yourself, not from a selfish point of view, but from a selfless point of view. A lot of people mistake selfishness with selflessness. So let me decipher this really quickly. Selfish is a person who all they care about is themselves. The selfless person is a person who understands that in order to love and help others, they first have to love and help themselves. It's sort of like when you're in a plane. We've seen and heard this analogy many times. When the flight attendant is doing the demo and she's talking, or he's talking about when, the air comes down, right? The mask, if there's decompression or there's sort of loss of air quality, that you first, they say, have to put the mask on yourself before you do the children. Why is that? Because the child doesn't know to put it on. So you have to save yourself first in order to save the rest. That's called selflessness. And many people get it very, very confused. But make no mistake about it, is that when you look in the mirror, you have to be really comfortable and loving of the person that you see in the mirror, with all your flaws, with all the imperfections, because we all got them. We're all going to make mistakes in about 7 minutes. We all do it. We're all kind of, in a way, in the pursuit of mastery. And that's why I say, don't put pressure on yourself. None of the advice that I'm giving you is a quick fix, and it doesn't happen overnight. It happens with time. It took some time to develop yourself to this stage in your life. It's going to take some more time to kind of clean up house a little bit, do a little spring cleaning, right?
Right. Yeah. There's a work in progress.
We all
Always a
are, and
work
we
in
will die
progress.
a work in progress because there's no such thing as perfection.
Some of your clients that you've seen like just have no money and they're just like, I want to buy a home,
Yeah.
and they're not great with savings. What are the habits that you feel that are beneficial for folks who are in that boat?
Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to do a reality check to really understand, is your lifestyle imprisoning you? Are you the prisoner of your lifestyle? So let me give you an example. If you're going out 3 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever, to eat out, and it's not cheap to eat out no matter where you go anymore, everything's expensive, everything's fusion cuisine, you got to ask yourself, why is it you're doing it? Is it because you're attempting to fill a void that maybe you're unhappy at work and you feel like you need to overcompensate and over reward yourself? Or is it pressure from friends because they're always doing it and you have to do it because it's the only way to get in with that crowd? You have to ask yourself, who am I and why am I doing this? Because here's what I know, your real friends are totally okay with going to barbecue or coming over to your house and potlucking it, or everybody cooking a little bit at your house and turning it into an event. You got to get more creative. So number one, get more creative. Number two, find out who you are and why you're doing these things. And three is do an inventory. Who are the people around you? You know, the old saying is that you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. It's totally true. Totally true. My mom told me this as a child and I didn't get it. Now I get it. It's totally true. You have to hang out with people who are your advocates. There's another saying I like a lot of sayings, is that those who mind don't matter and those who matter don't mind. The people who love you and who are really truly for you, they're your advocates, can give a rip about how much you have, how many times you're going out on the weekdays or weekends, what car you drive. They don't care. What they care about is you. So surround yourself with this type of person. And the other thing is that, look, this is about quality, not quantity. You don't have to have 7,000 Facebook friends to feel worthy.
Yeah,
Can you
that's so
stop that,
true.
please? Look, first off, you don't have enough time, not only in the day, but in your life to cater to that many people. Look, I have a handful of friends and it's still challenging,
Mhm.
right? Because we're busy, we got lives and we have to make a living. And it's not cheap to live in California or, quite frankly, anywhere. Everything's getting more expensive because Californians are ruining it for other states because they're moving there with their big money and then raising
It's
prices there. And they're the reason why sometimes some of these high price fusion cuisine restaurants come in and here we go, rinse and repeat. Now you just have a suburb of California or California mentality that is permeating your neighborhood that otherwise wasn't like that 4 months ago or 4 years ago. Go find your tribe. Go find them, because no matter what community you're at, whether it's great or bad, there's always going to be the gems. So your job is to go find and build your tribe, right? That's what we do. Go find them. You know, the old needle in the haystack. Well, first off, here's what I know. There's a needle in there.
Mhm.
The needle is in the haystack. So we know there's a needle. Good news. Now go find it. Because even in the haystack, there's a needle. Think about that. So go
Mhm.
in your neighborhoods, be active, go out and find your tribe, find your people that you share core values with, that are there in the good and the tough times, because we all have both. We all will. The facts of life.
We talked a little bit about how some folks they repel money because of things that they feel about it, and we talk a little bit about folks who attract it. Do you have any personal stories of what you've seen, some miracles of folks being able to reverse that repelling part?
Yeah, actually, somebody comes to mind really quickly when you say that. You know, in the 24 years that I've known this gentleman, I'd say probably half of his life, the money was very elusive. It seemed like every time he was ready to grab it, the money moved every time he moved, and it was very elusive. He couldn't grab it. And having observed him for that long, I realized that his hyper focus of chasing money was the very thing that was keeping him from money. He wasn't focusing on the bigger picture as to why. Why do you want more money? You know, just because there's more money out there doesn't mean that it's going to help you.
Yeah.
You know, if think about this. If you learn to live below your means and now your means got bigger, isn't that a great thing? Because the reality is that every dollar above and beyond your needs can be a blessing to somebody else. You know, we walk these streets no matter where you're at, and I notice that people have made the homeless kind of invisible. They pretend like they're not there. Well, the reality is that every dollar that you make above and beyond your needs can go to help somebody, because at the end of the day, my opinion, one of the major, if not the number one reason why we're on this planet is to be a blessing to other people. And the more we do that, the more fulfilling lives we have, because we know and we've seen it. People with a lot of money that commit suicide. I always like to use the example of Avicii, the DJ from Stockholm, Sweden. You know, what was he, 28 years old, worth $85 million, and decides to commit suicide in Oman? At that age, he had everything going for him. He was at the peak of his success, but he didn't really feel, according to what I've read, that deep sense of purpose. Like his life, there wasn't that. And I've gone through periods of time like that where I just didn't feel like I was very purpose driven. I felt kind of empty and walking alone by myself, even though there was people around me. You ever feel like you're alone, even though you're in a sea of people? You have to be involved in something that is bigger than you. So I think your attitude towards money and the why do you want more? Why do you even want some? Has to be anchored into something bigger than you. And so that attitude is everything. You know, you see some people that no matter what the hardship, they always seem to have a good attitude around it. Even if it's cancer, even if it's, you know, something massive. Like I look at Alec Trebek, the guy from Jeopardy. Look how he's handled his cancer. You talk about somebody who's handled it with so much dignity and positivity. My gosh, I think 99% of the people would not respond that way.
He's a
Amazing.
legend.
Well, and he's a legend in life, not
Legend.
just a legend in his
Yeah.
field. But, you know, what a great example to show people that even if you have a little bit of time, doesn't mean you stop living.
My take on money is interesting as well. I've for the past like 4 months, it's been something that I've been diving deep into with regards to my psychological aspects and viewpoints of money. And I realized that, yeah, I had a lot of fear around money,
Mm.
and pinpointing it to just one childhood experience that just changed my entire life subconsciously. And it really affects you when you feel like you're not worthy enough for it, or you don't feel like um, it's a good thing because it's dirty, or it's you whatever your parents have said, and that rubs off on you. You don't even think about it, but it does happen to create self-sabotage. It creates the ability to have money and then all of a sudden spend it because you don't care about saving because you don't subconsciously feel comfortable around it enough, so you just want to spend it. And it was very, very interesting to see like the different habits that I had around it for the past couple years, which has gotten better. But to be able to say, okay, yeah, this is what I need to do to change that up right
Yeah,
now.
totally. A couple
I
things
need
on
to,
that
yeah.
note. One is you have to reconcile your left brain with your right brain. You know, your left brain is the more cerebral, logical side, and then your right brain is the more creative, more emotional side, if you will. And I think for many, many years, people have gone on either to one side or the other. It is absolutely imperative to reconcile both hemispheres in the brain, knowing that passion absolutely not only can, but in my opinion, should coexist with profitability and money, because the reality is that we need money to live. And not only do we need money to live, we need money to help others as well. Again, it's that abundance creates a blessing in other people's lives. But first, you got to take care of your household and understand that you need money. Let me put it to you this way. I don't know of a single bankrupt philanthropist. You
Right.
can't be a philanthropist if you're bankrupt. You have to have some kind of money to be able to sow seeds into other people, into other causes. The other part where it starts is creating a discipline. And I've always asked this in my talks. What is the difference between a budget and tracking your expenses?
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
tracking your expenses is an activity. A budget is a discipline. So here's what I mean by this. I absolutely believe that step one is start tracking every single thing that you spent. I personally recommend the app because it's free and I've been using it for 7 years flawlessly, called Expensify.
Okay.
Never had that. I'll tell you what it looks like because I have it on. See that right there? Oops. So it is that one right there. Okay.
Got
So
it.
that's Expensify.
Okay.
And what it does is that it allows you to put in your own categories of like meals, entertainment, car, cell phone, all your expenses you put in the categories. You take a picture of the receipt and you put it in that, and it automatically dates it and timestamps it and puts it into that category. At the end of the month, you can pull down a report and it'll give you a chart to see out of all the money you spent, what went into meals and entertainment, what went into car, what went into cell phone. It'll break it down. And so what I tell people is take each one of those categories and divide it by your monthly income, and that'll give you a percentage of your income that you're spending it on that category. So for example, meals and entertainment. What percentage is meals and entertainment of your pay and your income a month? You'd be shocked how much it is. You don't realize it because you don't track it. But if you track it for 30 days, by the way, don't cheat. Here's what I mean. Don't change your habits just because you're tracking and you want to look good. No, 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 no. Because the only person you're sabotaging is you. For 30 days, you do not change your habits. Do exactly what you've been doing. But the only difference is you're going to track it. You track it. At the end of the month, you track it, by the way, and leave it alone. Don't look at it every day. You just track it, be done. At the end of 30 days, you're going to look at that chart and you're going to do that math that I just mentioned, and you're going to see where your money's going. From there, we develop a budget that says, okay, whoa, I had no idea that I'm spending $1,500 a month on meals and entertainment. So here's what you're going to do. You're not going to cut it out completely because that doesn't work. It's not sustainable. And the brain knows punishment when it sees it and it avoids it at all costs. What you're going to do is you're going to develop a budget around that, saying, look, if I'm spending $1,500, my first step is I'm going to cut it down to 1,000. That might not be the end goal, but it's the first step because you got to wean yourself down. It's the reason why diets don't work, because people go from like eating McDonald's to eating quinoa 24/7. That ain't going to work. You got to wean yourself out and you got to make it so that it doesn't feel like punishment, because like I said, subconsciously, the brain knows when it's punishment. And remember, avoidance of pain and the pursuit of pleasure are the two mechanisms that are running in your brain 24/7. That's what it's thinking all the time, right? All the time. So that's the very first step that I recommend, and you start from there. You make decisions, and you'll see that your life will start to change. Because if you don't track it, you don't know. And if it's not in writing, it doesn't exist. You got to start. And if you're having trouble with that, guess what I recommend? Go get somebody else who's as good or worse than you are with money, okay? And become accountability buddies. Do it together. There's nothing like having a wingman or wingwoman, because the advocate, again, is for you. And if you're for them and they're for you, sounds like a perfect place to be. Both elevate each other to the next level of where you want to go and be successful. Because at the end of the day, this is all about what? Being happy.
So what's the most craziest situation that you've seen a client go through in their life, like challenges that came up and they just lost everything, and then they're like all of a sudden in a year or two buying a home? Like, have you ever seen anything like
Well, look,
that? Share it with us.
So I've been doing this, north of 20 years, and I could tell you 2008 was real. There was all kinds of people
Oh,
going through that, losing houses. I had a friend who had leveraged himself. He had bought 23 houses. Every one of them got foreclosed on, including
oh
the
my
house he was living in. So
God.
23 properties he lost.
Oh,
And some people were being told file for bankruptcy to buy time so that you can get a loan modification from the bank. I mean, I've seen so much, to the lady who lives in Hillsborough, who, when she was referred to me to just kind of help her get her finances in order, I looked at her credit and everything. She's got, a bunch of credit cards. She had 11 auto loans. And I'm like, okay. One of them was very recent. I said, hey, what's this? It's a brand new Land Rover. And she tells me, look, before we even get into this, I'd like to make one request. See that one card right there? I'm not closing that one. I need that one. It was a Visa with a $325,000 credit limit.
mm-hmm.
And I come to find out throughout the trajectory of our conversation that that new car loan that she had gotten was a new Land Rover that she had bought for my baby. My baby is 45 years old, living with mom, and that's why she wanted the credit card.
Oh,
So
okay.
she was enabling her 45-year-old son to be a child. He had no coping mechanisms because she stripped him of the ability to fight and strive for himself. And I see that happen. The intentions are good. Of course,
Yeah,
every mother,
I
right,
believe it.
has the best
Mhm.
of intentions for their children. But here's the thing, whether it's your mom, whether it's your kid, your cousin, your aunt, don't enable people because you're hurting them. There's a difference between helping them and enabling people.
Yeah.
Be very careful. That's the lesson there. But I've seen, the gamut of people falling and then coming back up. And at the end of the day, when you distill this and you sift it, it's all about attitude. The people who have gotten up are people who just decide that they're not going to be victims, they're going to be victors, and that they're going to rise to the occasion, and that every single time that horse kicks them off, they're getting back on.
Mhm.
When they come with that mentality, nothing can break them. Not financial, not emotional, not a bad relationship that happened or a job they lost. None of that destroys them because they believe in themselves, which goes back full circle to how I started. You got to look in the mirror and love what you see and embrace who you are. And the biggest gift you can give yourself is permission to be you. Because guess what? Everybody else is taken.
Amen. Amen. I feel it's full circle to that one point that you brought up about just self-confidence, self-esteem. And I want to add to your point that it really, in addition to taking care of yourself and loving yourself and knowing who you are, working through those self-esteem issues that, we all have something that's going on. You want to surround yourself or surround yourself with people who love you too, who
Your
they're
advocate.
there for you during the good and bad times, and they know you, and they want you to succeed. If there's anyone that's in your circle that doesn't feel that way about you, and you don't feel that they feel that way about you, cut ties, because it's not
Next.
going to help. Yeah, it will suck you down. The energy that they're putting out there on you will just make it very difficult for you to succeed at all. And misery loves company, but just know that you want to let that company walk out the door, especially if they're not there for you.
Yeah, sometimes that's very hard to do because a lot of us have developed this disease to please, but you have to understand that it's dead weight and you're going to feel
Yeah.
a lot better when you do. Sometimes we have to just pull up our big boy and big girl pants and make those tough decisions, but at the end of the day you will see, because hindsight's 2020, you will see that you made the right decision. Because to me, it's kind of interesting how people who are miserable are like professional recruiters. They're really great at recruiting other people to go, and doesn't life
That's so
suck?
true. It is so
Come
true.
and join me so we can have a big life sucks fest.
Law of
How
attraction,
they
right?
are. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
law
want
of
to be sucked into
attraction.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, I can definitely say I used to be there back in the day. I'd say probably after my father's death, when I was about
Mm,
18, 19, I was going through some pretty challenging parts, and reflecting on it, I was just attracting drama because I just didn't feel good.
mm,
Abusive relationships, alcoholism,
yeah.
and just drama, drama, drama. And so I completely see the psychological aspect on how that works, and how, yeah, money will repel from that.
Yeah.
Money will run from that. Like,
It's
we're all
absolutely true.
energy. Everything is energy. So if we're not feeling good, or we're wanting money for the wrong reasons, we'll have the money, we'll get it, but it won't last.
But
And
it
so,
won't last.
yeah,
You're absolutely right. And a lot of that is, you know, there's EQ and there's IQ, right? IQ, intelligence quotient, and then there's the EQ, which is the emotional quotient. There's a lot of you watching right now that are super bright, but maybe you're a little bit anemic on the emotional quotient. And I will tell you just from experience that being robust on the EQ, the emotional quotient, probably even more important than being the next Einstein. Because when you're developed emotionally, you can make really healthy decisions around joy, around happiness, and you're okay with letting people go out of your life. You don't feel that guilt because you're emotionally intelligent.
if you look at Oprah Winfrey or Bill Gates, or you look up at Warren Buffett, if you look at the way that they handle emotional aspects of their life, there's a peace within them. You can tell that they're calm, they've
Agreed.
made a decision, they have a purpose. It's all to make the world a better place, and also to make sure that they love themselves the way that they want to love themselves. But they also they want to be able to handle good and bad times, like in a equalized way. Not super super excited, but not super super sad. It's kind of like being able to just roll with the punches, roll with roll with life, and not really react in a way that's polar opposites. Just being able to be more calm and peaceful in the middle. And so I've felt that since I started meditating about 8 years ago, and I'm learning how to master that muscle. I feel like that's really beneficial as well. It's being able to master the emotions and keep it positive, keep things
Yeah,
positive
I
as well.
agree. And learning to breathe, I mean, as crazy as that sounds, it's almost like a, right? But no, it's not. It's learning to breathe. And if you look, start studying, start studying people, and you're going to notice that the people who are really joy filled and are successful, because it's not just monetary success, we're talking successful, well balanced, right? You're going to notice a cadence about them. They make decisions without being hyper emotional. They make very calm and calculated decisions. You never see them all like flustered or anything. You see them, they take the time to make the concerted effort to make a great decision. They don't feel rushed. They're not panicked. There's no drama there. You'll notice that about these folks. You look at Bill Gates. I don't remember ever seeing Bill Gates really lose his temper in a big way. I think maybe once or something. Buffett, the same thing. I've never seen him like super mad ever, right? They have this calm security about them, not cockiness, but self assuredness that is calming, right? And that's one of the traits.
How do our guests find you on social media and the web?
Diaz, Eddiaz, mortgage advisor. So that's on LinkedIn. You can look at my profile there. On Facebook, you can go to Ed Diaz Kuno Advisors, and that's Kun as in Nancy O Advisors with an S at the end. And then my Twitter handle is info Diaz with a Z at the end. And then finally, my Instagram is ed_Diaz_mortgages.
Cool. Thank you. Perfect. Well, thanks again for being
Thank
on the
you.
show. And to our viewers, if you like this and want more tips and tricks, business and wellness topics that keep you uplifted, inspired, and balanced, like us and subscribe to our channel below. To all of my beautiful souls who are finding their way with grace and ease, thank you for joining us today. And until the next time we meet, Be beautiful and be well.